All right, testing. See if this works. Wonderful. All right, this is the pre-launch, so if you're watching this back, that is just me uh, getting everything set up. But know where to put any of this stuff. This streaming thing's a little bit new to me, but we're gonna figure it out. See here. Testing. Let's turn this audio on. See if I could even be heard, but if not, then that's not good. Again, if you're watching this back, just skip ahead to wherever I started creating something. Suppose we will get a little something down before I open the doors to some people coming in. Could be a little fun. I want to do some parasiting. Stripping software. Let's see. Let's open this up to the Discord. Okay. Right. Cool. So I think the audio works, but we will get started. Looks like this does work, so I will launch it on YouTube publicly then. Wonderful. All right. Excellent. Hello, everybody. Welcome in. Today we are just going to be doing some doodles, some drawings. I figured I'm doing this anyway. Why not take you all along with me on this adventure? It's a nice interactive way to get some YouTube stuff out, which I've been needing to do, but also some other things that I need to do. So my smallest prompt, the first one, and the first one was asymmetrical, and you all saw that one. For this new one, it's parasites. And what better than to do the parasites that make up the ecosystem of the Woad Warden? So, this little super fun sauropod dragon, and all the stuff that lives on his back. I haven't streamed in a minute. How is everybody? Yes, Nova, I am working on Smogest a little bit. I'm so glad I was able to make this work on YouTube because this means that I can save this video and actually have it on my channel instead of just kind of doing Discord and leaving it to the abyss afterwards. So, we got our little warm-up cartoony Woad Warden that we're working on just to cut my teeth back into this streaming thing and get it all set up. I should do plushies at some point. Yay, Woad Warden. He's so big and strong and gigantic and, all that good stuff. Yeah, exactly. Parasites have all kinds of crazy things. 2 hours for class, Mr. Velociraptor. That is insane. Wow. But yeah, see this little cartoony Woad Wardens, all the stuff that lives on his back. Alright. Plushies, I know, right? I would love that. 2 meter Woad Warden plushie, yes. Uh, I need to do some more merch. I have a poster that I want to put out with that post with the crazy looking guy with his spear up and all the dragons attacking. I made that specifically for a poster and just need to find a place to do it. Other merch too, but we're gonna get started with a little spider creature. This is the spider that lives on the Woad Warden's back and clumps all of the plants to its back, or at least gets those started. Little gardener spiders. I'm just exploring some ideas for him. We'll see how it develops over time, but the best thing to do is to make something exist first, right? Someone says, do whales exist? Yeah, I have a whale in the first book, actually. The cannon whale. Alright, let's see. I haven't drawn in a... Actually, that's a lie. I didn't draw yesterday. I drew the day before. Which is weird. I usually don't go long without drawing something. Oh, the spider is going to be, not too big. Big enough. Bigger than probably a normal spider, but it's not going to be like the ones you see in like Lord of the Rings or whatever. Let's see. Actually, where's my reference? What the hell? Oops, can't curse on YouTube. Let's see. But I have a reference on another screen. Yeah, like cat size, maybe something like that. I ran into a huge spider the other day. It was nighttime, of course, and I was going to go take the trash out. And naturally, it's descending from its web right in front of my face, and I was on my phone. I almost ran into it. It was terrifying. But, that's what spiders do. Parasitic mushrooms might be a bit last of us, but those are always very cool. Yeah, we'll see. I'm just kind of exploring here. I'm not really sold on this yet. And often things change, especially in front of the pressures of an audience. But we'll get there. I am enemy spider. Yes. Mushrooms are something that I'm also going to be exploring because that's how people eat in this setting. It's mostly just mushroom based subterranean foods. Uh, but that will be for another post. Actually, what if I gave him a weird face? Something really wrong. I don't know. We'll see. Again, I'm just kind of playing around at this point. This is a glorified little sketch. Yeah, I was gonna draw a dragon for this, and I still might pivot. We'll see. But I'm just getting started with the parasite prompt because hey, why not? Yeah, parasite on a parasite on a parasite is a very fun idea actually, because I imagine the Woad Warden parasites being pretty big or largely substantial. I'm trying to write the second book right now, and maybe, or not maybe, but I definitely plan on having the Woad Warden himself be like a sort of mini biome, as mini as it can get. Mushroom tastes fantastic. I love uh, mushroom type foods. Hmm. Figuring him out longer, much longer. He will be I use Procreate for reference. Someone had asked in the chat. Have I done fan art for something outside of dragons? Forever ago, I did some Attack on Titan fan art. I don't know if I posted it on my art account. I think that was actually before I made my art account. I still like that show. So who knows? It might surface someday. I'll probably post it in my Discord for reference. But yes, here we're doing some thinner legs on the spider. Just again, just figuring him out, seeing what I want him to look like. Uh, because I'm imagining this is it's a garden spider or gardener spider that they cultivate the plants on the woodwarden. So he has these lovely uh, long reaching arms that could get in places with relatively little actual movement, just more like long dancer legs strides. For a spider, a woodwarden is a big place to cover. And it's so funny because this is for parasite, but he's barely a parasite. He's more like a symbiote. But he will eat some of the parasites. And I've yet to draw him. The spider is important to the woodwarden's ecology when he needs some art. So we're just gonna do that and at least get started with the spider, and then do a little something else on this same page. This will end up being a sort of spread of different, kind of like those ecology pages I have, but it'll be all for stuff you see on the woodwarden's back, which will include a parasitic dragonell that will feast on certain aspects of the woodwarden, which I think you guys will enjoy. Dragonell, if you don't know, is a small type of dragon that typically doesn't classify as dragon solely because it's not as outwardly devastating as most dragons tend to be in the setting towards humans. They're still dragons, like, genetically, but it's more of a layman's term than an actual scientific term. Yeah, the spider is not a parasite, is what I just said. The spider is instead a symbiotic creature. I don't know if I'm seeing the texts late or not because I'm just reading them as they pop up on my screen. Let's flip the screen a little, see how it looks. Yeah, if I can get this to work regularly, because for a while I had it working on YouTube after the Kickstarter, and then for some reason it had just broken for the longest time, and now it's working again for some reason. And if it decides to cooperate, we could do pretty regular YouTube streams, and I would really enjoy that. Because, like I said, it's better than Discord, because Discord is easier to stream on, but then you can't record it after, so it's basically just lost media. And that sucks because you put hours of work into something and then it's just gone. Well, the piece is there, but the whole video that you just spent hours doing is just, there's no trace of it. And I might as well have something here that looks good on, YouTube and all that. Yes, Luke Howell, the spider does provide benefit for the woodwarden. It is what cultivates the plants on its back. And now the woodwarden, actually, for the YouTube people who might not know of the project outside of YouTube, it's a gigantic herbivorous dragon that just sleeps forever. Well, it seems like it sleeps forever. But I will be covering him at some point for YouTube. Transformers, I'm unfortunately not a Transformers fan. I just didn't grow up with them. I was more of the dinosaur dragon kid. I guess Codex Lost Media, that's funny. Yeah, YouTube streams, I think it's pretty fun. Oh geez, Among Us dead meme alert. Thought that was left in what, 2020? People who live on the Wood Warden's back, they probably have unintentionally camped on its back. There's people that live in the folds and that their bodies make up hills and valleys, and some people set up camp or might even live in the deceased remains of Wood Wardens. Oh, the dragons, dinosaurs, that sounds cool. All right. Let's see. Yeah, I might have to get some moderation at some point for these chats if some spam is going to be an issue in here. Oh yeah, people always ride the dragons in modern media. I think dragon riding and dragon friendship is more common than any kind of dragon conflict. So that's what I'm here to fix. Not fix. I still love my dragon riding media, but I just want to offer something different. Dinosaur guy, I love my dinosaurs. I'm not gonna lie. Actually, hold on. I'm gonna grab something from the other room. I will be right back. Oh, apologies for the holdup. I am back. How would you guys feel about another stream tomorrow? I think I have some free time tomorrow. I could pull something together. Let's see. You left time to be evil. That is funny. Okay. All right, I'm back, everybody. Spider time. People come for the dragons, they'll get spiders. That's the old bait and switch, as they say. The that's funny. It's Yeah, this is a very fun community. I'm very pleasantly surprised when I started sharing my artwork on YouTube and on Twitter back in the far day, and especially on Instagram, that people really kind of took to it and built this little community around it of this very uh, nerdy interest of mine that we all share. And it's fun because I get to stream and I get to hang out with you guys, and we all have the same sort of appreciation for these creatures. My dragons ride the line between more fantastical dragons and more animalistic dragons. They act and behave animalistic, but have those sort of fantastical abilities that I've granted them, so that they're not just speculative evolution dragons, but they offer a little bit of something for everybody. At least that's what I try to do. I like the hard spec dragons too. Uh, I just tend to prefer a little, not prefer, because I do like it all, but uh, I tend to draw the more fantastical elements while still finding some semblance of balance. Haha, yeah, thank you. Curious Archive was really fantastic in making that video. What is it, like over 2 years old now? How time flies. But I really am forever thankful to him for that. It was a fantastic. A lot of people still come to me from that video. Like they still learn of my stuff from that. It's got like 2 million views now. He was amazing for that. And if he does watch this at some point, thank you, Curious Archive. You are something else. Yeah, his speculative series was so cool. I like his new stuff too. But yeah, his sort of archiving into new worlds was awesome. Gigantic freshwater fish. Oh, you know it. I like a big old fish. Yeah, see, look, a lot of people saying that they came here from the Curious Archive days, which, see, there you go. You want to do this. Try not to make it just a standard spider, because he has got some size to him, so making just a typical spider that's scaled up would work as well. So we are gonna try and see what's his name. He's like the coconut crab of spiders. He's not gonna be terribly large, but well, for a spider, he's terribly large. Probably more large than anything I would want to meet or run into. Catapalps or whatever they're called. His little mouth parts gonna be very dexterous and lean to help him with that silk. Let's redo his eyes too. Everything's a placeholder until it isn't, right? This is Procreate that I used to draw. This canvas size is 12 inches by 8 inches. It's about the size of the book that I did. I tend to try to draw in that size to keep things visually, I guess, consistent. See, this spider is going to be. I want them to be easy to replicate, because if I draw like a million of them on the woodwarden's back, but we will see. See, diegetic bestiary, how people in universe catalog. I would like to do that. I think the incorporating that into my normal posts is probably the best way to go about it, or like normal whatever's. So if I have a book that comes out in the future, there will be ideally, right, parts that include how people might see them in universe. That's kind of how I approach it in general. A mix of the scientific sort of cataloging approach with some touches of cultural element that the author is sort of part of, or how people might see these dragons or these creatures. Kind of like when I do that bestiary art style for them. It's kind of with that in mind. See. Yeah, mythical dragons is a fun idea. In terms of like ones that don't exist in the setting. Particularly notable individuals is something I really want to explore going forward. Let's see. I don't know what he's holding on to. He's just kind of like doing creepy, spidery things. I can make her face backwards. Who knows? Let's see. I'm just messing with it. Mammal-like dragons, I love them. I personally always tend to do the reptilian look pretty much solely because my dragons are reptiles, or like they're, descended from a group of reptiles. But I really do think that there's a good place for the mammalian dragon. I, of course, as a kid, always preferred the reptilians, and there's part of me that always prefers the reptilian approach. But honestly, as I go through and deal with all these dragons, I come to appreciate them in all their forms. In terms of mammal dragons, I have a creature that I put on Instagram, Twitter, it's the Pseudonaut. It's this big tiger-like tenrec, and I had Eastern dragons in mind when designing him, with the long body and the mane and the sort of uh, mythical appearance of him. He's got a little bit of magical in him too, so he's like this Eastern dragon with a pronoun show. Keenan Taylor's dragons are fantastic. He has that like stem mammal approach, which I think I've never seen before. And for that, I have to really tip my hat to that because really cool approach to doing it. Having all kinds of different types of the fur and the knot is really cool. Especially since he has, I have like a gazillion dragons, which can be a lot to keep up with. But with him, he's got these so much variety out of just this one species, and it's really cool. He's also a very nice guy. We stand him in this house. I've had pretty pleasant encounters with all the world building spec guys that I've met so far in doing all of this. I really enjoy the Kappa guy too with the World of Turtles. I've had some interactions with him, and he is nothing but wonderful. So if he's watching this at any point, hello. I'm talking well of you. The community in general is great. The people and the creators and everything. I haven't really met anyone I've disliked, I would say. And that's good, because every field has those people. But maybe I just haven't run into them yet. I really enjoy being in this field. Yeah, it is a little hard to find good world building discords. I mean, I don't myself necessarily actively seek them out uh, at this time. I tend to like being in them if they're of a project I enjoy. But for some of them that I enjoy, I like the ones where it's like those cool projects. Like I like the Kappa one. I kind of pop my head in there every so often. Let's see. I keep trying to get the guy who did or the let's see. I've met so many cool people. What's the one? I keep butchering the pronunciation. Uh, Phantom B, the Alien World. I really like that one too. I love how this is a drawing stream, but I'm just talking about my favorite creators. Tamari made that one. She's fantastic. Probably the best Alien World I've ever seen. Up there with Barlow's Expedition. I don't think I'll be doing zombie dragons as I'm reading the chat. That's a little fantasy for my tastes. I don't really want to do this other leg. Hey, Mr. Dragon, can you pipe down on the spam? I don't have moderators in right now, but don't take advantage of that, please. We're just trying to have a good time. Tabletop RPG, I'm so glad that you said that because that is one of the next steps I want to take for this setting. I think it would be a very natural next step for the Codex. Of course, I plan on doing a sequel to the Codex that includes the dragons I wasn't able to cover in uh, the first book, as well as a bunch of new ones that I've made since. But I want to do a tabletop game, maybe a whole other a new campaign for it too could be fun. Like a new setting. I could either do it as a supplement that just has some stat blocks for the dragons that nice and quick, and I might start that way. But eventually, I want to do a whole like thing for it, which again, I just feel like it's such a natural extension of a setting like this. You just throw some stats down, throw a campaign down. I just gotta teach myself how to do all that. Maybe find some help along the way because I do everything on my own. So maybe if I could find some TTRPG makers that I vibe with, we could figure something out. Lightning Dragons? Yeah, I have a couple of those actually. I don't recall if I posted them on the as episodes yet. Yeah, I have the one, the Thundermaw. He's a sea dragon that does some electricity, and I got a few other ones too. I got one actually currently in development. This awesome big deal lightning dragon, and he is one that I will be posting at some point whenever he's ready. I keep restarting him because he's a little difficult to work with. I'm trying to push myself, but hopefully it'll be worthwhile. A T-shirt? Yeah, that's another one I want to do. I've got a bunch of merch options lined up. I want to kind of get going with. I just need to find a good distributor or site that does it. I could just do print on demand, but we'll see. if I want to do it that way or maybe some other way. I don't know. I'm actively learning how to do all this stuff as I go. So, we'll get there. Figures I would like to do. Plushies. If I can make those happen. They're pretty expensive to make, so I don't know how that would go with. I guess I could do like maybe a Kickstarter or something, but we'll see on that. I need to research what goes into making all that stuff. Maybe warehouse. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. But we will see. I'd like to end up doing all kinds of cool stuff. Getting some cool merch, like merch that I would want to buy. Like that's kind of the approach I'm taking to all this. Like what would I want for this project instead of just throwing stuff out there? So I want to make it as cool as it can be. Let's see. Yeah, t-shirts with the dragons. I think that's a pretty doable thing. I see people do t-shirts all the time. Maybe I'll just reach out to them and ask how they did it. That'd be cool. Yeah, let's see. This spider's looking pretty all right so far. He looks properly leggy. Give him some spikes on the side, possibly. So what's a good creature without his spikes? I don't know. I might keep him, I might not. I'll leave him there for now. Yeah, 3D models are expensive to commission, but for good, reason. The good ones are particularly pricey. And if you don't account for that, then it could be prohibitive. Crazy darkness spikes. Yeah, that line worm is the wood warden. A big old sauropod-esque dragon. Yeah, I'm working on the last two legs. Dragon tropes I hate. I don't know about hate. I tend to have like a monkey brain moment whenever I see dragons in media, and I'm just like, hell yeah. Like I love them anywhere they show up. I guess there's depictions I like more than others. Naturally the I don't know. I guess the misunderstood dragon is a little tired at this point. You see a ferocious creature and you're like, Oh, well, maybe he's secretly good after all, and you know, it's good. When it's good, it's good. But everyone's doing it. How to Train Your Dragon made it popular. Maybe a little bit before then, but they did it right. I love that story. But it's just everywhere. Maybe like the what's the joke that maybe we were the monsters all along for mankind. And that's just something you see everywhere. That's why I make my dragons particularly aggressive because they're not misunderstood at all. They're very well understood in the fact that they'll eat people and hunt people, and that's just what they do for the most part. I mean, there's some that do, some that don't, but they like their human meals when they can get them. It was man alone. Dragonheart movie? Wow, what a great pull. I love that movie. That was one of the first dragon movies I saw when I was younger. And Sean Connery just knocks it out of the park with Draco. That's a great movie. Great dragon in it too, design wise and performance wise. Great pull there. Love that film. He was cool. He was I guess you could say he was one of the misunderstood dragon tropes, but he was so early on that it doesn't count because that movie's kind of old. And the idea of a dragon and a dragon slayer working together to calm people is really funny. I honestly would have taken a whole movie of just that. There's a few Dragonheart movies, but to me, they don't exist. Only the first one. Yeah, I do make my dragons at the human eating size. I think making them. I have some big dragons, but they don't get like. They get big, but like not, I guess, smog big. Maybe the Wood Warden does, but he's an exception. Uh, I make them big enough where conflict with humans is just something that happens, as opposed to why would a creature so ginormous as, a lot of high fantasy dragons are so huge and so, like, I don't know, like, just ginormous that why would they care about people? Why would they spend their time obsessing over something like we would obsess over an ant, unless it's some ant infestation in the lair? I don't know. But why not just ignore people? That's a big problem I have when dragons are incomprehensibly huge, which is why I make mine of a. They're big, but they're like dinosaur big. They're not like, I don't know, too large. I got some people asking how they could fly and all that, but again, I try to merge the mythological and the realistic in one. I try to make it believable. That's fine. It's my creed. Believable, but it's my dragons operate and evolve within their own set of rules as opposed to the rules of Earth. Yeah, the armor shear is ginormous and flying, but it's not big on people. It just kind of does its own thing. People celebrate it because it's relatively harmless, unless you get too close and it mistakes you for a crab. But at that point, it's on the person. All right, this is pretty good for spiders so far. I think, let's see, we have the spider, and then let's see. There's some in terms of dinosaur-like creatures in the codex. I'll have some like non-flying uh, dragons that resemble dinosaurs, kind of like this guy up here. He's sauropod-esque, but there'll be others. Some that aren't dragons, some that are just more like big lizards. But speaking of dragons, we are going to work on a little parasitic dragon that also feeds on the wood warden. and it's a dragonell, so it's technically still a dragon, but is its own sort of sub-classification by the, if you weren't here earlier, by the dragon slayers. Like dragonels are dragons that they don't necessarily have to have all these precautions for like they do with everything else. They're just more like they're smaller dragon species that just fill smaller niches in the environment. Let's see what he's gonna be. Yes, I do have whales in the setting. I did see if I were to have the world adapted to a film, animated or live action, with studio or director. Oh geez, I don't know. Uh, a nature doc would be cool and kind of fitting for the setting. That or something along the lines of living in the underground city. Maybe it's getting attacked and they need to get out. And the stories about getting out of this labyrinthine underground town that kept them safe, but now is like a prison because there's dragons sieging the outside. You know, it's a whole awesome thing I want to explore. I have a bunch of pieces lined up for, or like ideas and concepts for underground life and how people live in a more visual sense than what I've done before to give a real understanding of what I'm gunning for here. See, interacting, gotta ask, have you heard of? I cannot pronounce that name. I don't. I have not heard of them. Yeah, the Karstman slavery with a politician. Politician. That's funny. Potential for a story. That's what I kind of wrote that with that in mind. I want to do an anthology series at some point. I have a lot of aspirations, but to do a series of short stories surrounding different areas of the world at a time. The Karstmen in their conflict with the wing runners and the faction that enslaves them, the company that does, is a fantastic story hook. Same with the asymmetrical abomination, who will also be getting a video at some point. Yeah, I have a few dragons that live in groups. Alastro Bowman. There's a whole bunch of them actually. I did recently a video on the pack living gaping killneck. And they're kind of like chimpanzees in their group structures. Yeah, camel spiders are very cool. Let's see. Yeah, what if set in the future is a fun idea. I think I would want to fully explore stories set with my current cast before creating a new cast. Because I have all these dragons that I have these pages for, and I want to really explore them in context. But honestly, I don't intend to abandon this project, so as the years go on, granted, if the audience still is interested, I would be keen on doing all kinds of stuff with this setting. It's just as long as the winds will carry me, I will go. I love this setting, and I'm glad people want to see it. So I'll keep it working, keep those books coming too. I got ideas for possible companion books and everything. So the sky is the limit. Why did I make the two-headed dragon even though I don't like two-headed dragons? Well, that's exactly why. I don't like two-headed dragons, and I don't know why I just don't, like ever since I was a kid. But I wanted to make one because, get out of that comfort zone. So here he is. Yeah, Codex World with a bunch of stories. I do think that there's a huge potential for all kinds of stories I could tell in here. That's why the world's so big, and that's why I have all these different plot hooks and places where people can be. Because I think there's a whole world of possibility. It's a whole setting, Like think about how many setting stories are in Dungeons and Dragons. Is this world doomed like ours once humanity actually creates guns? Some of them have, but they're different than, human guns. There's the peppermen with their pepper guns that shoot chemicals. Peppermen tend to focus on chemical weapons and potions, not magical potions, but they consider it magical even though it's actually just chemistry, and are seen as such, right? They're seen as these potion master type magicians. They have all kinds of big gun-like administrators, but also for the Wilderblue, the setting which the World Warden lives, there's a group of people that are actively in conflict with the Wing Runners, and as they are allied with the Carsmen, and then the Wing Runners enslave the Carsmen. So these people actually developed human killing guns, and that is a big development for the world. Bit of the Wing Runners bring humans to all these new experiences that they haven't necessarily uh, had, because these my humans are sort of like eusocial. They're like insects, but to a less extreme degree. They're very cooperative. They're controlled by hormone waves sent by their kings. And when they're free of that, when they live outside of these hives, then all these strange aspects of human nature come forth. Stuff that they might not be ready for. Tame Dragons. We'll see if I have a one that's kind of like that. I just haven't posted it yet. The page is done. I just don't really. I'm just kind of sitting on it for now because I feel like I could do more with it. But we will see. I don't want to do his wings. I want him to be kind of freaky because he's this little freaky dragon. He's totally scary, guys. He demands respect. As much respect as any old road warden or great human being. Have fun, GB. Thank you for stopping in. I'll give him little horns. Let's see. Possibly. Oh no, I'll leave those there for now and let them simmer. 'Em. Will I ever cover what lives in the eternal sandstorm? Probably not. I'll probably give some more hints of what's actually in there. So that's not just a, just a nothing mystery, but I think it's worth more as a mystery than it is as if I fully explained it. It shows this world is still, despite being known in many ways, there's still a lot that's left to be known. Yeah, I have an idea of what's in the sandstorm. I've had that figured out for a while. Uh, there'll actually be a similar realm that's traveling across the entire world. That'll be the land of hurricanes and storms, created by similar conditions, but it's in many ways it's opposite. It's wet and rainy instead of dry and abrasive. So it might give some sort of insight into what sort of creatures live in the storm, sandstorm. Where can I get the codex? I had a few releases out on Etsy, but they sold out so fast. The first one was in half an hour, and the second one was in 15 minutes. But Etsy actually locked my account for whatever reason, probably because it was a new account and it sold all these copies. And they didn't like that. So I've been trying to get my account back for like the past week. No, I sold copies on Etsy for a while. Not for a while, but it was for a good week before I got shut down. Are there sandworms? Still figuring that out. I mean, I love the sandworm in Dune, but I don't want to be tropey, you know? I mean, I have my own set of tropes, but dragons are tropey in and of themselves. Let's see, I don't know if I'm keeping that tail. I know, right? Like this new account making us money and getting us traffic. What? Shut him down. Yeah, it was selling so well. I was very proud of it. People really enjoyed having a chance to get the book, and I'm glad that they still wanted it. I was happy to provide. So that's why I'm trying to get it back. I think once I do. And in any case, right, I was just selling backstock from Kickstarter. So what I'm trying to do is have a new order in for winter time. So for the holidays, people can get a whole new stock of books. So if people are interested in that, I'll see about doing some sort of polling, and then people can actually pick up the codex for Christmas or something. Because it'll take like 6 weeks to print and deliver and all that stuff once I have sold out of my back stock. And then I can have everything ready for the holidays. Because I do attend university, so I try to schedule my book releases around that. So that I'm not doing all this packing and shipping when I'm in school. Yeah, explosive wyvern. Thanks for getting it in the first batch. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I really had fun making that book. And I'm working on the second book. In fact, this is stuff that'll probably end up in the second book, in some form. But I just can't wait to get it out there more. Second book will be awesome. Third book, any companion books I have in mind too. I have a whole thing. I'm not done with the setting yet. I want to do like smaller, physically smaller and briefer companion books to do in between the larger releases. Uh, and then have the actual larger releases that take a little more time. And just make it a whole wonderful sort of collection that people can get if they're so interested or if they're so inclined. Another contest? Yeah. Uh, I'd like to do another contest. I'll see. I mean, I'll see what I could offer as reward, but but I suppose the very community building nature of a contest is always fun. And I really enjoyed the one we did before. Yeah, I'm so glad you like the book. Just a guy. It always probably the best thing about this whole bookmaking process, and something I didn't even consider when first making it. I was so wrapped up in like the technicalities of getting the book out there and the shipping and then this and then that. And it was, stressful because I'd never done it before. But when people actually got the book and then they'd send me like photos of the book on their shelf or saying, "Hey, I just got the book in the mail," I get like an email and I'd be like, "Oh no, did something go wrong?" And then I open the email and it's just someone saying, "Hey, the book arrived and it looks beautiful, this and that." It's the best thing I could read. It genuinely makes my day. Like something I poured my whole heart and soul in is just enjoyed to that degree by somebody is literally any creator's dream. It's fantastic. Yeah, yeah, like smaller books, right? The one I had in mind was maybe something, let me know what you think, on like tracking dragons, like their footprints, maybe what another look at the juveniles, the nests, things like that. So it'd be full of dragon prints, full of little baby dragons, things like that. Maybe some smaller dragonels, stuff you'd find around layers. Maybe what their burn marks look like each species. Yeah, the book arrived the day you graduated. What time? That's awesome. Yeah, more merch I really want to do too. Like posters I think would do well. Stickers, I have some sticker backstock from the Kickstarter that I might ship out as merch at some point. I just have so much to do all the time that's hard to find a moment to kind of set all that up. I need like an intern, that would be awesome. But yeah, it's just let's do. Oh hey Annan, thank you so much. That's very kind. Yeah, the Reed Peaker, what a fantastic pull. Explosive, whatever. Huh, that's a cool. All of those groups actually, I've had them in mind. The little bipedal rodents, and they need some love. So I'll probably be doing more of them. Same with the Hern. I want to do more of those little endemic, strange life forms on top of the dragons as well. But I just have those little freaks in mind. Oh, your parents love the book. Thank them for me. That's very kind. The red racers are very fun because they're so easy for me to draw. Because they're not they have spikes, right? But they're very streamlined in their design, so that they're really easy for me to draw like quickly. So they end up getting more pieces because they're just easier to draw. Uh, and they have a lot of cool narrative opportunity with their relationship with the ne'er do wells, the wing runners, and for them, I also want to do another subspecies. So maybe one that lives in the neighboring Worldbuilding. Let's see, that's a lot of fingers. Let's see, one, two, three, four, five, six. I can get away with one more. I typically do 6 or 7 fingers on my dragons. The Hold Taker is unique in that he has 8. He's the 8-handed dragon. That's part of his title. It's a bit of a local mythology. They call him 8-handed, even though it's just 8-fingered because it sounds more dramatic. And stories tend to get more dramatic as they go. Which I kind of like this. Yeah, I have a hard time picking a favorite with my dragons because they all sort of come from different favorite aspects I have in dragon designs, and I lump them all together into these different designs. A lot of my dragons actually stem from one design I work on, and I realize there's a lot going on in that design, and I could distill it into several designs instead of just the one. And so I believe the Wailing Bishop, the Great Kinsbane, and the Sun Scourge all stem from one sort of proto dragon design. So it's weird. It's like in a way that they're evolving from art the same way animals evolve from a common ancestor. And they're better for it too, because it sort of distills what was the core element that I wanted to focus on in each of those initial designs, and in all the better in its own. So what are we drawing? We're drawing some parasites that live on the Woad Warden. First is the spider, is not exactly a parasite, but he's more of like a symbiotic creature. And he puts the plants on the Woad Warden's back. And here we have this blood-sucking, meat-eating little freak, hummingbird-esque dragon. And he uses his beak to drill into the Woad Warden's thick skin. Actually, I could make his beak longer, honestly. And I really want him to have that freaky vibe. And he gets all the way through the thick armor and skin that protects the dragon and slips up a little bit there at the end. A little bit of whatever meat or blood or whatever he's drinking. And he in turn is caught and eaten by that spider who uh, passively protects the Wood Warden from parasites on top of keeping it stocked with plant life. Clatterjaws, I love the Clatterjaws. They were one of the most fun I had designing a dragon, actually. They just came so quickly, too. It's like I didn't spend too long ideating on them. I just knew what I wanted, and it cooperated with me. I tend to do that where when a design works really well for me, in the sense that it comes easily and I could sort of get what I wanted out on paper without too much fighting, that goes into the lore. So designs that are really hard or like that I struggle with, I write that into their personalities as being unruly or hard to work with. But the Clatterjaw just worked so easily, so I made them a cooperative species that hunt together and live together. An example of something that's the opposite is the Thundermaw. I struggled with the Thundermaw for a long time, and I wrote that into their nasty, sort of evil-esque, not evil because he's an animal, but they're very cruel personalities. The Hellbasker and the Fumehorn are artistically related in the sense that the Fumehorn's head is based on an old Hellbasker drawing, and for that they are in the same camp. Now, I always saw the Fumehorn as being genetically related to uh, the Thundermaw because both have these short faces and uh, heavy set bodies. Again, I'm just so glad that this stream worked. I hope I can get it to keep working because this is delightful. I've probably been streaming for a while now, but why not, right? Tongue on him could be fun. A butterfly tongue, but a little grosser. We'll leave that here for now. Oh yeah, the salt giants. They are closely tied with the salt giants. They're when those giants moved into that area, they were unprepared for the Thundermaw's sort of electrical prowess, and that led to a big decline in their they were already always low of number, but the Thundermaw can electrocute anything within a certain radius, and mix that with water, and it becomes a very inhabitable sort of place for an aquatic giant to be. But some say they moved, some say they stayed and are just weathering out their last moments. They come from somewhere else, and this is their last. The yeah, the dead cliff is their last holdout. By the time they arrived, they had nowhere else to go, no means to get there. Yeah, the old versus the new Helvasker. He was the first dragon I did for the Codex, so he had a ton of iterations. The old one's classic, and I still enjoy him. You'll probably see he's an old drawing, so we might need some TLC at some point. But he uh, he was a very fun piece to do. But I realized that Hellbasker as a dragon is one that he relies on his fire. Right, he has the hottest fire of my dragons, and not on his brawn. And so the design needed to be streamlined a little bit to show that he's physically very lean and kind of sleek. And it's that fire that does all the heavy lifting that puts him in the big boys tier for danger level. So his redesign was less bulky and less heavy and more like agile. Looks like he can climb up walls, which is what he's supposed to do. And so yeah, I mean, he has all these different designs as time goes on. I made his first design back in like 2020 or something. It was forever ago. Doesn't feel it now. Oh, the world's name is the Abervast. I was thinking when I named it, uh, what would somebody of this world call this world? And what would that translate to? Because I'm sure they have all these different. The idea with this project is that these names are all translations of their own languages. Uh, and we call Earth Earth because it means dirt beneath our feet. But these are humans that live underground. And how would they perceive the world above? And it's this dangerous world that's full of dragons that doesn't really let them do anything. So it's the Abervast because it goes on forever and it's huge. So it's a simple translation, but it doesn't get simpler than calling it literally dirt, as we do with Earth. Kind of like that head. That's like a nice little silhouette. I might give him a crest or something, but I don't know if that would take away from it. That's a little pterodactyl. Maybe a sort of skin crest, like a Parasaurolophus. We'll see. That's too pterodactyl. I'm not crazy about that. Yeah, dirt above our head because everybody in the Codex world lives underground. So what would they call, or we call the earth dirt beneath our feet. So if I mix that up, my apologies. Ooh, the Black Marooner is a fantastic choice. I really like that one. He is I had a lot of fun making him. I love doing the sea dragons. Eventually I want to do a whole book on sea dragons and sea monsters and krakens and stuff. So he's in the first codex, the Black Mariner, because I didn't want to leave him out for however many years it would take for me to get. Because I have my timeline is the first codex, the second part two codex that covers all the stuff I couldn't, and then the giant book Titan Strike, and then the ocean themed book with all the sea monsters. So we shall see. Oh, the marooners, they got my dragons are full of metal in various degrees in their bodies, and marooner teeth are pretty much entirely made of metal. So they just piping sear those things up with heat from what would be the glands in their throat that or their bellies or wherever that make the fire. And so it goes to their teeth through all. I have a whole explanation for it, but it goes localized heating rather than heating their mouth, basically. Yeah, the Kraken had a lot of fun to do. Uh, he was. I want to do all kinds of Krakens. When do I plan to release the second book? Well, you're gonna have to give me a little bit. I initially wanted to have it ready uh, by, I don't know, like this year, but I don't know if I'll have it ready by this year, solely because there was a major setback in the first book's delivery, in the sense that there was a big delay, and then I couldn't get home to fulfill the books in time because I was in school, and it was this big thing. And I had only recently finished with my fulfillment, so now that that's done, I could focus on the second book. But now I'm ready to go back to school. And I'll be working on it while I'm in school, but I don't know if it'll be ready for fall like the last copy was. The only reason being is because I want to do some cool new stuff with the sequel. I could probably whip together something that's similar to the book I had just released, and that would be fine actually. But if I can get away with doing some cool experimental stuff that I had in mind, I would like to. We'll see though. We'll see. Hey, thank you, Blair. That's very kind. Have I ever gotten a suggestion on how to improve art that just upset me for some reason? That's a great question, and something I'm sure all of us in the art field have dealt with at some point. I have. It's generally when the critic is dismissive more than anything else, right? Like I'm fine with getting some critique, and I that's why I'm in school, you know? Is like I want to improve. But if the critiquer is just doing it to be, a jerk, then that's not fun. Some people, I remember being told once that if I want to improve, I got to stop drawing creatures. And I'm like, that doesn't make much sense. I get it, right? But it depends on who's talking, right? Some people in the classic art centered and they want you to do like the bowl of fruit, but there's merit to the bowl of fruit. But if it sucks your passion for drawing out the window, then what can you do? I do encourage studying the classics of art solely to, you know, get a better handle on it and make your artwork cool. But there's degrees. Never give up what you actually want to draw. Do the studies, but then use those studies to make your cool art cooler. All right. Well, I always suggest if someone wants to get better at drawing creatures and they want to focus on the anatomy aspect, I always say go to the zoo, little sketch pad, and just draw some real animals. Because it's still within the wheelhouse of interest of drawing creatures, and then you could sort of see how those body parts work together and how the creature poses and kind of holds its body and holds itself. You can apply that to your fantastic creatures, and you'll be all the better for it. That's like my version of that critique. So I always just say keep it related to what you want to do, but instead focus your training towards what you would want to specialize in instead of just, drawing that bowl of fruit. Yeah, I suppose some people could see drawing real animals as boring, because it feels academic and it doesn't feel like a super fun like coming up with a creature. The designing part of drawing creatures is always the most fun. I think it's my comfort zone. Uh, but the hard pill to swallow is that if you want to get better at designing creatures, you have to learn how they work, like the real thing, you know? Hmm, this guy's almost there. I'm looking at him. He'll probably, by the time I post him wherever, I'll probably have some whatever thing new with him because I'm still deciding what I want for this guy. Let's see. I kind of want him to be skinnier. Nice, he's built enough. Maybe longer is what I'm going for. Maybe a little longer. I don't know. We'll see. Let's try it out. He's not so chunky. Yeah, you have to know the rule before you break it. That's a fantastic quote there. Uh, that's just basically all of it. All the best creature designers are wildlife artists. Tara Whitlatch is probably one of my favorites in the pro field, and she's more of a scientific illustrator before she was a creature person. In fact, she did all the, for reference, if you don't know, she did all these Star Wars aliens and the prequels. And she was hired by Lucasfilm after they saw her portfolio of wildlife illustrations, which didn't include any monsters or any creatures. They just saw what she could do and said, now we're going to make you do some aliens. And that was a whole career launch from then. Oh, welcome to the stream, little cipher. What animals prey on these? These little guys here, probably these spiders over there. I could see that being a pretty substantial food item for them. Do I want to make his neck longer? Actually, let me copy and paste this first, just so I don't lose it. I'm inclined to make his neck longer. I like how it looks there, but keep thinking about it. I don't want him to look too elegant, because he's really not that elegant of a creature. He's kind of a pesty little creature. Oh, what is the World Warden? Well, it's something I posted a while ago on my socials. So if you're part of the YouTube community, you might not have seen it yet because I have not made a video on it yet. But it's this gigantic herbivorous dragon. It looks kind of like this. Uh, it has a sort of a staggered life cycle. It starts off small and numerous, like a lot of dinosaurs, and then as it ages, it gets so big it just becomes part of the landscape and sleeps for longer and longer until it ends up decomposing into the landscape. So this biome called the Wilderblue that is composed of both living and dead road wardens, and it's this whole ecosystem of parasites that live on the road wardens, the living ones, and then what inhabits their remains. And by remains, I mean like bones, not active, rotting stuff. Though when they do freshly die, that's a huge opportunity, like a whale fall for but for a dragon. So, any opinion on Chimere? Yeah, I love the guy who makes it. He's always been so nice and so kind to me, especially when I was starting out on YouTube. He answered a few questions I had about some of the technicality aspects. And in general, he's just super chill, super nice guy. I've enjoyed my interactions with him, and his project is very fun too. It's sort of cross time journey. Yeah, the creatures that become the landscape. I imagine the wood wardens sort of if you have like a landscape, it'll be like hills, but instead it's all of their backs, and you're walking along these hills. But then maybe one of them raises their head up and goes, "What's going on down there?" And that's bad because if you're standing here, oh no, he's gonna turn his head and I assume they ignore most people, but you couldn't build too extensively on a wood warden before it notices, especially if it's a younger and sprier. Just by their size, they're one of the more, I guess, passive dragons. I don't want to say passive because it's not like Jurassic World where the sauropods are just pushovers that die even if some raptor nibbles their ankle. But they just can't really be harmed by much once they reach a certain size. Their biggest threat at adult size is just themselves. Old age, size related injury. You reach a certain proportion, and then it's a little harder to move without risking injury to yourself. So they survive just by being mountains, feeding on the sugars provided by the photosynthesis and whatever crawls in their mouth. Yeah, the nomadic group that lives with wood wardens, there is a tribe called the Wilderblue Raiders that I plan to do. Or I have them written, I just need to draw them. There'll be a book two tribe. The Chroma Conclave, I do not know what that is, unfortunately. The most successful species that is of the big major dragons would be the rattledreads. They're found all over the world, and they reproduce very quickly and have a lot of eggs, so they get everywhere. They're like a mix of bull shark and bear, like black bear, in their general vibe. So they will eat anything. They'll eat the bark off a tree, any fruit or whatever. They'll also eat anything living or whatever that comes into their vicinity. They're not at all picky. And that includes people, and that includes houses. So that's another major reason people build underground. Because the rattledreads just like will just eat them out of house and home. It's not only the things in the house, but they'll eat whatever's making up the house, as long as it's not made out of stone. Would world wars attack world wardens? I don't know. Maybe if they do inhabit different realms, right? The world boar is the huge titan of the underground, where the world boar is on the surface. But if it surfaces where a bunch of world wardens are chilling, uh, it would be in its best interest to head back down underground, just to avoid anything that would be too harmful for it. Yeah, there was a swampy dragon I had a while ago. He'll be in probably the sequel with a new design too, because that's an old drawing. There's a bunch of them that need new art, and that is what's putting book two behind schedule, not behind schedule, but it's making it take a little longer because a lot of the drawings are so old, like from 2020 or whatever, 2022, 3, just older drawings that don't necessarily reflect my current ability. And that's a black hole to get into because if you redesign too much, you end up never releasing anything. So it's like, do you release old art? I mean, you might as well. So who knows? I mean, I might just figure something out, but that's a whole debate. Yeah, Meyer Worm is the guy. Gut Butcher's in the first book. I like him. Crown Sunscourge are very intelligent in the sense that they can recognize what's actually a threat to them or not. They can navigate the storm and find the safe passage through it. They're like big whales in terms of like a sperm whale or an orca, maybe a little less destructive than an orca, but they have that whale-esque wisdom to them. Crocodilians, I'd say so. I would have to answer that question. I think either your standard little crocs, maybe some other cool terrestrial things. If dragons haven't already, taken over that aspect. But let's see, it's like a humming dragon, but he's not as cute or whatever. He's like a mosquito hummingbird. I'd imagine this little guy's actually related to the hagworms and such. Maybe his little wing bigger. Hopefully we get his wing at some point. How do I do this? Yeah, maybe that. Move them down. In terms of the smartest dragons, for now, that's a title that I granted to the Scarlet Lashers. They have a sadistic sort of intelligence, whereas something like the Dreadeye is also very intelligent, but in a computer sort of way, calculating cold, math centered sort of way. The Dreadeye is one I'll probably cover soon on YouTube. If the audio is glitching, that is probably just Wi-Fi. Yeah, it's a gardener spider. Good eye there. Name is maybe. I mean, I haven't designed any yet. There's no cats in the setting. They just never evolved, and I know hyenas are close cat relatives, so I'll have to work out that sort of phylogeny. Smallest is to answer that question. It's like an art challenge that you draw a dragon a day based on a prompt list. But different people have different prompt lists. Depends on which one you follow. And mine was asymmetric. My days, because I did this with a bunch of other people. and like we all worked together to make a list. And my days were asymmetric and parasite, and I made a cool horror-esque kind of guy for asymmetric. And then parasite, I was like, well, I needed to do some wood warden life forms anyway, so why not have them for my parasite prompt? Yeah, the Scarlet Lashers bring in some creatures and impale them on stuff like shrikes. Just reading back in the chat. Yeah, the asymmetric monster was very fun, and I really liked working on him. He's this poor genetic creature that people are afraid of course, because he just showed up one day, and so they don't know what to do with him. They could probably easily slay it because it's this wounded, not wounded, but uh, down on its luck sort of creature. But the fear that's around it is so high that it's made out to be a bigger deal than it probably is. Uh, on top of that, it's this representation of this unknown species that nobody has seen really what it is, or they don't know if it's a mutated existing species or if it's something altogether new, so they don't know what it's capable of. And that fear and fear mongering makes them paralyzed for choice when it comes to what to do with it. So they just lock it up in the hallway that it was discovered and just don't talk about it. Yeah, it's a sort of sympathetic story for that creature. Uh, Nobody made the asymmetric creature. It's not like a Jurassic Park situation. It just showed up one day, and I'm inclined to think it was just born that way. It's like how nature in this setting creates all these ferocious dragons that seem perfectly tailored to eat and kill humans. But then every so often, it has its little genetic mess up and it creates something that unintentionally terrorizes the people. So maybe it did what it was supposed to do after all. This canvas size is 8 by 12 inches for the one asking. He looks almost too like needs to be a little more freaky. It's a little too put together. Rather elegant is the word I would use. He's a creepy mosquito. He needs to be a little creepier. Yeah, thanks for joining. Those of you who had to dip out, I'll be on for a couple more minutes. Bigger eyes, maybe. Yeah, possibly. Let me just copy and paste this so I don't lose it. Let's see how that would work. I don't want to make him too overtly mosquito-esque. Yeah, I suppose if I made him a dread eye relative, he can have like a eye stalk. see. I don't know. Again, we're just experimenting. This looks kind of like the other dragon I did, the herbivorous Maid Stoker, fiery classical looking dragon. I don't hate the eye stalks. They're very alien, but that's not a bad thing. Maybe we'll let that sit for a second and see how that feels. See, that's what's fun about the streams is it's like getting a what do they call it? Like audience feedback as you work. Pre-screening, I guess? Question mark. Yeah, that's actually not bad. Whoever suggested that, good job. That gives him a little bit of a nastier sort of silhouette. Not as cute. I don't hate that. As for the purpose of it, I imagine if he has this eye stalk, he's going to be a Dread Eye relative. Now, the Dread Eye has eye stalks that are packed with, it's like a hammerhead, right? It's packed with these sensory organs that help it calculate and sense its environment. For this creature, he uses this long tongue like an eye, or this long beak and tongue like an ibis to pierce through the wood warden's cracks in its armor and slurp up some blood or fluids or whatever kind of thing it can get. And these stalks would give its eyes a higher position for which to scope for threats that surround it, probably these spiders. So it could see what's around it as it's feeding a little bit easier than if the eyes were a little lower. And it's a small creature, so uh, it's not like they're too big of a target because whatever can grab it can probably finish it off with some sense of ease. Scarlet ibis is good. I like all ibises. They're very fun. Yeah, yeah, it's a small little guy. For those who don't know, at least that's what I'm going in with this guy, rather than having to say this is a guy. That's a bit too big for him. He's probably going to be, I don't know, like within the size range of many birds. In terms of size, he's not too big. He's like I said, he's bird-esque. How exactly, what exact kind of bird, we'll see. But again, not too big. I'm trying to focus on smaller animals here. So we got this dragon, we got the spider. We'll have some other creatures too. And again, I'll probably stream tomorrow as well. So, and I'll most likely, more likely than not, be working on this page. So if any of you are interested in another stream, well, come by tomorrow. I'll probably start earlier. I started a little late today because I was figuring out streaming and streaming services, but I got it to work. So there's a pretty solid chance I'll be doing this a little earlier in the day. I'm at the US Eastern time zone, so maybe before noon, maybe at noon. We'll see what it looks like by then. By then. Yeah, maybe around Hawk to Raven in terms of size. Because quarry is quite large, the woad warden. So a lot of the woad warden parasites tend to be a little bigger. I imagine though this particular species evolved around the woad warden to be its parasite, but could easily adapt this behavior to other dragons. Now, wood wardens make great targets for these kind of parasites because it's so large and unmoving, but I can actually see this creature feeding on even a kinsbane. Kinsbane's a huge dragon eating dragon, the classic, oh, he's so tough, he's so cool. But he's so big, what's he gonna do against a little guy like this? He would probably feed on the kinsbane without it even knowing. A lot of the large dragons can fall victim to things like that because they're so well armored, and that's bad for humans because humans try to pierce their armor and they have a hard time. But things like little parasites like this that can get through the armor just by being small is a big problem for them. Especially things that can ingest all those toxic metals that are in dragon bodies, which is a lot of animals, but especially the little dragon parasites like this. I was, in terms of art schooling, I'm in art school now, but that's after. I went back because I wanted to. A lot of the stuff I did, I figured out kind of like just doing my thing. And then there was a point where I was like, this was during COVID when all the schools shut down. I was graduated high school around that exact time, 2020, and didn't want to pay for tuition to go on Zoom, so I waited it out and worked on this during COVID and like this project. And after a while, I was like, I kind of want to go back to school. It's because I'm personally, I love school. I'm a big school guy. I love education. I love the academics. So going back was more of a choice than a necessity. And I've learned a lot since going back. There's like a lot of administrative things that I figured out, especially regarding the Kickstarter. That really helped me out when I was figuring all that out last year. I had a wonderful business professor who helped guide me through all of the scary tax things. A lot of great friends professors and such, who really made a difference. Yeah, with the legs spread wide like mosquitoes. Yeah, you see the vision, man. You definitely see the vision. Yeah, if you're able to go to school, I mean, it's not a necessity because I know schooling is so expensive, especially now if you're in the States. Uh, it's hard to recommend if you're, I don't know, it's tough, right? Like I had to do the student loan thing for it, but I love the school, so I just did it. And I want a degree too, because you never know, right? So I want a degree, so if worst comes to worst, I have something to fall back on. Um, but that's just me. I don't think you need it to succeed in the art field. It helps. That's what I'll say. It helps. If you could go to some art whatever thing and say I have a degree in this and show your accomplishments, you'll get a leg up. It also helps with like your people skills and all this other important businessy things. That's probably the best thing about my school is that it really leans on the business aspect of art. Something that a lot of people tend to just not think about because you think it's it's art. You express yourself and people pay you, but there's more to it. It's also good, I think. The best part of school, one of the best parts, is you get all these different perspectives and these people who live different lives, and when you get to learn from their perspectives and see how they make art and how their lives affect their art, and you can take a little note or maybe be inspired by them, or or you can inspire them in turn. It's just a wonderful like place of connection. I'm like the nerd emoji with the glasses talking about how much I like school. And a lot of stuff in my DeviantArt. That's probably an easy place to find it. I'm most active on my Instagram. Uh, Twitter, went to hell. So I still post there, because I still have like an audience there. But I put most of my time into my Instagram these days. The DeviantArt is sort of like a holding space for my art in the sense that I could put a lot of stuff there and kind of just have it be this warehouse warehouse of my art. It's a little harder to gain traction over there. Obviously, its heyday's over. You know, DeviantArt's heyday. I was a kid when it was in its prime, which was a great time to be a kid. You know, and seeing all the cool fantasy art that people were making before DeviantArt became strange. Uh, Especially now with the AI stuff. But that's everywhere, unfortunately. YouTube and Discord. There you go. Yeah, I mean, absent-minded. If you want to peek at the Instagram, there's a link somewhere in this account I have to my other stuff, but it's where I do a lot of my stuff, a lot of my posts. YouTube, because videos are a little slower to get out, I have to catch up, do a lot of catch up on my YouTube in terms of the species, the videos, and fighting the algorithm, making sure my stuff even gets seen is a huge issue there too. So that's a whole thing. So I have to like catch up to my other work with YouTube. Because like it's not as easy as just posting art that I do. I have to make a whole video about it, which it's like a whole other element to this job, which I enjoy doing. Don't get me wrong. I actually really enjoy that people want to listen to videos about what's essentially glorified OCs, and for that I'm very grateful. So it's just catching up to my backstock basically of creatures. But streams like this are how I could bring my YouTube into, less of catching up with old stuff and sort of bringing you guys along if you're not on other platforms to what I'm currently doing. And I really enjoy that aspect. So if I can keep if the tech will work with me for once and let me stream without a problem, that could be a great idea. Any tips for amateur traditional artists? Mrs. Lee. Well, I am a guy, so it would be Mr. But that is a great question. I think for traditional artists, especially if you are amateur, studying the fundamentals should be your number one priority. Do the boring stuff, unfortunately. Still do what you want to do, right? But do the boring stuff to strengthen. It's like going to the gym, right? No one likes being in the gym, but everyone likes the result. So if you do some of the figure studies, whether those figures are animals or humans, you could do your still life to get a good handle on volume and shape. You could do all this wonderful stuff to strengthen your artistic ability, and then apply that to your creatures and watch how good that they become, especially with traditional media, which can have a bit of more of a learning curve. They both do. Digital and traditional have a similar learning curve. I see them as different, just mediums to draw in. One isn't necessarily more valid than the other. It's just different mediums. It's good to be proficient in both. It's good to hear that you work traditionally, though, because we are in like an AI sort of hellscape, and the market is leaning towards traditional art or art that looks traditional in a way to sort of push back against that, or the people are preferring art that looks like it's made by humans as opposed to something a little more digital, since that's just everywhere, especially with the AI. See who's controlling the parasite populations. I'd imagine that there's a bit of a mini ecosystem here, where this little mosquito-esque dragon is then eaten by this spider, which then has all these other animals that are vying for each other and all for this resource that is the road warden. It's like this whole like world. I'm sure Mr. Lee could riz a missus. I do have a wonderful girlfriend, and so I could say I have done that. Also, traditional artists starting to draw digitally. Well, that's good. I think, honestly, I learned traditional before I went digital. Uh, and I like to think that my art was better for it. Because if you start digital, you could almost accrue that digital look that almost looks plasticky. Where if you learn traditionally first, there's a strong chance that your art will look traditional because that's what you're used to working, like that sort of process. So, and you want your art to look, in my opinion. Well, then again, right? Opinions are everyone's got them. I think I lean towards traditional art styles. Digital art styles are fun, and there's a lot of people with really popular digital art styles. So if that's your thing, then go for it. I just think that if you start traditionally, you will have a better handle on things. Yeah, spiders and their webs for sure. That's like a sticky thing that they use to plant plants, and I'm sure that they have all kinds of highways throughout the wood warden's body to actually get around. How about this? I'm so glad that this stream worked. Look at that. I'd be doing this anyway, but now I could have a bunch of you guys here with me. Company's always better than doing something alone, I say. Like traditional art because the process feels smoother. Yeah, no, I'm with you. There's something very honest about traditional art. There's like it's not like there's the tricks or like the layers, especially when you do Photoshop. Photoshop is very hard to learn. It's like you ever see those photos of like pilot cockpits? It's what Photoshop is kind of like for when you're figuring it out. It's very difficult to get started. Uh, Blender, I've been trying to learn Blender because I'm trying to do sculpts of my creatures, and it's just like that. It's like it's hard. Digital interfaces can be really hard to learn, especially frustrating if you know you have a handle on the material. But it's just so alien to even navigate, like for sculpting, in my experience. I see people, streams, people will just like throw clay on there, and I want to learn to throw clay because I could sculpt traditionally, maybe not very good, but but just the act of getting the clay on there requires like 7 steps of menu navigating, which just is hard to get into for me. I'll figure it out though at some point. Photoshop, it is good for drawing too. If you have a tablet, Photoshop could be good for that. You know what's bad about Photoshop, however, is that price tag. It is predatory. Uh, what someone here said Clip Studio. Clip Studio is a fantastic alternative. It does all the same stuff. I use Photoshop sometimes only because it comes with my student license for my school. Once it expires, I'll migrate to whatever else. Procreate's done good for me. The only thing about Procreate is that you can't resize anything without it becoming pixelated. And that's my biggest complaint with Procreate. It's like it's hard to make posters, right? Like size comparison posters, like for the dragons that I want to do without using Photoshop. Because it all just kind of glitches out. It's weird. I tried to use Procreate, but the pencil stopped working. I recommend trying to get that pencil to work. Procreate's good for mobile drawing. I mean, it's if the pencil stops working, that sounds like an issue with like Apple, you know. But I use Procreate for a lot of my stuff. That's how I got started with the project because it was a cheap way to get into doing art. I did a lot of traditional media, but this is even cheaper because you just do the big. It's a big initial investment to buy the thing, but then it's just kind of free to work on. You could experiment to your heart's design, or if you don't have the means to get a bunch of materials. Nomad Sculpt, I have it in my ad revolution. I just again, it's one of those things, right, where I'm trying to learn so many things at once. And Nomad's one of them, and I'm trying to figure it out. But then I have to stop and attend to this or that, especially this year with all of the books that were going out. Uh, I had to teach myself all this data management, which was, it's a frightening thing to learn for the first time because it's all of this important data of who has what and who ordered what and who to get to what and where to send it and how to handle. I was very blessed that the Kickstarter did very well. And I had to teach myself how to handle large sums of money responsibly, and I did figure it out, and I'm very glad I did. But it's just a lot of stuff to teach. So now that that's calmed down, kind of hoping to get into teaching myself some other cool things. Always learning, they say. Look at that, 2 hours on stream so far. Time flies when I stream. I've done some Discord streams, and like I said earlier in this stream, I do more Discord streams just because it's a little easier to get into, and I do have my Discord link in the bio. But the only thing about that is uh, it doesn't record it afterwards, so you end up losing all this progress, all this like what we're doing right now. Like I wouldn't have a recording of it, which is just not good. What I'll do probably after this stream is whip up a thumbnail uh, and put something together for this stream because thankfully people will be able to watch it. And I like watching streams where people work on their art. It's always good to see a glimpse into the process. And so I'm glad I could like that as well. How do you find motivation to start? Well, I think if you have this like sketchbook, is what I'm taking that you have, it could be really intimidating to start because it's this big blank canvas of stuff to do, and that's tough. That's tough. It's even hard for me to break into a new sketchbook, but just start. Honestly, just you have to break the ice, and then it becomes so much easier. So I think maybe if you maybe find something you really want to draw, or just something kind of low investment that you want to draw, you can just start, and that's all that matters. That's the most important thing. You just begin. If it's a how to draw book, maybe use some of the exercises in the book, and that's how you can begin to just get on there. Yeah, yeah. Do the one that interests you the most. These little nasty bugs and creatures. Art takes so long. We had 2 hours for these little guys, but they are. It's always worth it. I love drawing. I do it even when I do other stuff. I used to before going back to school, before really leaning into this art. I was going to be a physical therapist, but I kept coming back to the drawing board. I was like, I just gotta make something happen with the art. I couldn't ditch it. Yeah, if you never use tutorials, I mean, they help. Tutorials, I think it depends on the one, right? Uh, you got to make sure. I recommend actually just opening up maybe those old like how-to art books or whatever, and or some a lot of good YouTube channels cover like the basics of art and doing that instead. Because depending on the tutorial, some of them lean more towards a person's particular style, which wouldn't really help you too much because you'd be trying to figure out the actual practice of the art rather than how to draw on someone's style. And you never want that anyway. I always encourage people to find their voice as they practice and learn art. They could find their own artistic voice, and that's a very satisfying moment. Because then you're like, oh, I'm not drawing in so and so style. I'm drawing in my style. And that's very fun. What do you mean? How do I rest the textures? Yeah, it could be fun to copy styles from like a TV show. I think that's actually a good way to sort of digest how people approach different mediums. And that's a totally different thing. Doing exercises is a totally different thing, or like explorations. And people could draw however they want, right? I don't mean to sound like the arbiter of art, right? The arbiter, but I always think eventually discovering your own voice is always superior. If you want to make it like not make it, but if you want to do your own thing as a creative, because then you could do cool art things and be like, oh, drawing this in my style, and people are like, oh yeah, look, that's your style. It's very cool. How do I create the textures for the dragons? Oh, I see. Uh, that's like I use a pencil textured brush, right? And it's like I think it's called dry ink, and that is just I guess a combination of my own practice with drawing, stuff, but also this bank of knowledge you get over time using references, things like that, with creatures and how creature skin works, how skin sort of puffs up or hangs on a skeleton, how fat lays on muscles, how muscles lay on bones, how skin lays on fat. It's like this whole thing. So that's why I always say references are always king, because you could figure that out, like how this leg here, there's that muscle that comes out, That was from, I did a big study on like reptilian leg muscles not too long ago, and that has helped me figure that out. Um, or any kind of animal you want, right? Because they all have the same blueprint, but all execute it in different ways. Contour is very important. That's probably a very easy way to convey volume is through line weight and contour. So you'll notice I have these little rib protrusions around here, and those double as a contour line. All of my shading lines go along the form, and that's what I was told a lot in school. What helps you take a drawing to the next level is any kind of marks that you do, make it go along the form of the creature. So it works with, this sort of arc of the neck or the chest or what have you, and it gives your creature some sort of body. Yeah, yeah, do some studying. That would be very fun. Like the worst advice, trace everything. That is indeed the worst advice. That's the how to never learn anything ever forever. That is hilarious. Yeah, definitely practice the muscles. It's funny because human anatomy is made up of the same stuff that animal anatomy is made out of, but it's just different. There's a whole study dedicated to human anatomy, uh, like artistically, because it's just we are humans, so we notice small errors way more than we would with animals because we're just so hyper aware of ourselves. It's a little harder to sort of fake it till you make it with humans, which is why there's so much attention paid to them in the art field. So it makes them very daunting to learn as well. But I do recommend doing some experimentation if you can. And a lot of people get their start with tracing stuff they see in art books. I did that back in like, elementary or whatever, right? You find a cool little monster book and I'd trace the D&D dungeon creature manuals. And that's just what you did because you wanted to look very interesting. And that's how a lot of people get their start is being inspired by books. That's why I made a book because I love books. I have a big collection of cool books, and I'm sure a lot of you do too if you're interested in the same stuff I am. And I'm sure many of you are. Uh, and, yeah, we see humans every day. Even the smallest little shift in the eyes can be instant uncanny valley. It's craziness. Let's see. We got these two. I don't know what colors I'm gonna make them yet. That might be part of tomorrow's stream. Or maybe I want to put at least two more animals on here. So what I'm thinking is let's actually wrap up for today. Because we've been streaming for a couple hours, we can continue this tomorrow. And I do want to thank all of you for joining me. There's 41 of you who are still here, and that's a long time to sit and watch me draw, and for that I appreciate. I'm really glad again that I could get this YouTube stream to work, and I want to thank you all for being here. And last minute question: what am I using? I'm using Procreate on the iPad. But again, thank you all for joining. We will resume this tomorrow, probably a little earlier, so we could work for longer. But yeah, I mean, I'd be glad to keep talking art with y'all. All right.